right now, if that's okay. Calling the card you want to fight on, getting on it, performing like that in front of a crowd, getting the knockout like that, I would suggest this is probably as home run as you can get. Would you agree?
Yeah, the first question I was asked when I went to the back was like, how do I feel? And my response was, in Kansas City, I kept telling people this was a dream come true. And when I walked back after this moment, it blew that feeling out of the water. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Listen, I think people on the face of this kind of knew that you were the favorite going into this matchup, right? But everyone knows how tough he is. So then it was going to become about the story of, could you finish him? Sean O'Malley couldn't finish him. You finished him. Is that exactly what you were trying to do when you're going out there? Were you trying to get this sort of one-punch KO?
In my heart, I 100% knew I was going to knock him out. I have absolute belief, not just in my power, but my precision and my timing and my ability to find that shot and set it up on anybody willing to play that game with me. And Kris, I knew, was going to be willing to play that game with me.
Yeah, not sure how many people are going to be willing going forward. Was there a risk, though, right, when you're in there and you're landing big shots on him, which you were, like, right away, that you know how tough he is and, you could get overexcited, sure, maybe a bit of a rough weight cut and suddenly you're gassed in there. Do you have to stay composed and stay on top of your game when you're in there?
100%. Obviously, even with me going out there and getting such a spectacular finish so quickly, I got a lot I can go back and work on. But I stand by the fact that I train hard, man. And if he's willing to take my best shot, I'm going to give it to him for the whole fight. I had fights on the regional scene. I fought 25 hard minutes before. I've had, another fight that went decision. I've been tested, and every day in the gym, my team is not slacking. They're making sure that not only am I physically in shape, but mentally, I'm willing to be tired and keep fighting. So as much hard as he was going to show, I was willing to do for 15 minutes as well.
In today's day of MMA, there's a fight event every weekend, right? And it's hard sometimes for guys to stand out. I feel like 2 back-to-back knockouts inside packed arenas is helping you do that. But do you think staying active is something that a younger guy needs to do to make sure, like, hey, I'm staying in your face and I'm staying on your memory? Is that something you're willing to do?
100%, man. As active as I can be with the matchups that make sense, I'm absolutely willing to get in there and keep doing what I'm doing. I'm healthy. Fights are going my way. I'm not taking much damage. And I'm on a roll. This momentum happens, and I think consistent competition only helps me improve. So, like I said, man, fights make sense. I'll stay as active as I can.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you so
Malcolm,
much,
first of all, congratulations right in front of you here. You talked about the special song you're going to have for the people of Atlanta, the way you came out with Oh, Let's Do It, and just the energy. How much did that push you when you got in the octagon?
Every bit of nerves I had when that song dropped went away because it was like I was having a party. I saw the crowd, how interactive they was with every lyric from the song. I almost was gassed from how much I was jumping and partying on the way to the octagon, man. That was as good as my shakeout in the back. So that was absolutely special, and I'm glad I took the time to pick a special song and walk out with that energy for the crowd.
Yeah, in a sport where almost everybody calls their shot, you thanked your team after when asked who you want next. Where does your humility come from? You're clearly very confident in your abilities in the octagon, but you still seem to have this humility. Where does that come from?
It comes from the men that I mentioned when I was asked that question. Those men, Pops, Jake, Joel, worked on me as a man outside of the cage just as much as they did with my performance in the cage. Anytime there was hardship I had in my life, those were the guys I had to turn to. When I needed help figuring out things that was much harder than any fight I ever been in, they was the ones who helped me develop my character, and I can't break that character no matter what circumstance I'm in. Even if I'm in the middle of an octagon with thousands of people screaming my name, I can't forget what they've done for me.
You, just building off that question, you did thank your team, but you're in a very deep division. The knockouts like this, they're going to start to pay attention to you even more, even if they haven't been already. So is there a name, is there a fighter that you're targeting next that you want to be in there with, building off these knockouts that you've had?
There's not a particular name. When I look at the division, it's so stacked and there's so many fun fights. And to be honest, I never expected to get somebody like Kris Moutinho, so shout out to Sean Shelby, man. I mean, that dude made this happen. I mean, we got down to the wire. There was so many things going wrong, and to be able to pull somebody like Kris Moutinho out and get me the opportunity in Atlanta, all thanks to Sean Shelby. So I'm going to just let my manager talk to him and see who he throw me next.
What kind of statement do you think you made for the division tonight, the rest of the guys?
That I have knockout power that can put anybody out in the bantamweight division.
You're far right over here. What are you going to remember most from this night? You talked about the build-up, short notice, having friends and family blow you up. What are you going to remember most from this when you catch your breath?
The thing I'm going to remember the most is the walkout. There's not going to be a day for the rest of my life I ever hear that song and I won't be reliving that walkout moment. That was comparable to how much fun I had fighting just now.
Hey, Malcolm. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
I think you get a good chance at another bonus. These are obviously two incredible performances. You're new to the UFC, but you're not, a young man. You're well into your athletic prime. How quickly do you want to move up? I know you didn't have a specific name, but how high are you trying to shoot next?
Like I said, whatever makes sense for me. You know what I mean? I definitely want to climb up, and I do know that I got into the game a little bit later than other people, so I don't have a lot of time to kind of just mess around in fights that doesn't propel me forward. So my manager, Jason House, is one of the best in the business, so he's going to do what he has to do to make sure I get the right path to move up and get these ranks ASAP.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On that note, though, do you feel like a sense of pressure? I mean, you're obviously like a very bright prospect, tons of potential, right? But you're not 22, right? You're not. We just had Jose Ochoa, 22-year-old. I don't know if you saw a knockout, by the way, but do you feel like a sense of urgency, like you're soon gonna have to start fighting the top guys?
Brother, I feel no pressure. All this, I wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I started training at 22 years old, and I just wanted to get in shape. So the fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm accomplishing all this stuff, I'm already, like, humbly speaking, in Augusta, have made so much more of an impact than I ever thought I was. So whatever I accomplish, I'm so much at peace with it, but that doesn't change the fact that, like, I'm shooting for the stars and I'm training absolutely with everything I got in me.
Yeah. Is there a card that you would like to return in for this year?
I want to get on a pay-per-view card, meet some of these superstars, so hopefully that's what's next on the radar for me.
Chicago, yeah.
That'll be a banger. We'll see what Sean Shelby and my manager do.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you so much, man.
Malcolm, right here, man. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Maki.
A lot of local mixed martial artists were in the building, as well as your fans, man. What do you think this victory inside of State Farm Arena in Atlanta, where you used to fight, did for the local mixed martial arts community?
Every person in that crowd that had any sense of, support, attachment, love for me is going to remember this night as well as I do, and that's what I get to go home and be proud about.
While you were in the cage, you also said, I don't care about the next opponent because of the people that are in my corner. Could you speak more to Fagler's MMA, the gym that you come from in Augusta, Georgia?
Yeah, man. When I first started training with Fagler's MMA, there were cold winters where we didn't want to come out of our sweatpants, and it was 3 or 4 of us on the mat. My coach was having to pay the power bill out of his pocket because we didn't have enough clientele to keep it going. And their ties to keep impacting people and see people like me change is what drove them to continue to keep that program and that gym door open. And we had to really get it out the mud and go through dark times to see something so beautiful as this.
And in the build-up to this fight, you also talked about how you've been working with the Performance Institute. How much are you going to incorporate the Performance Institute with the gym that you're already training with moving forward?
I'm going to do a lot with them. My whole training program, now that I'm a full-time athlete, is heavily influenced by the information I'm receiving from them. And that's the whole intention with this generational thing. All the information and game that I get, I'm giving to the next generation so that they can accomplish what I'm doing and even more.
Does it seem real?
No. Being in Atlanta, that walkout, that performance, me even trying to imagine the ripple effect from what's finna come from this, I can't even wrap my head around it. And, man, it's even more unreal than Kansas City was for me.
There's a card in New Orleans as well. I know we said Chicago, New Orleans. Again, how soon are you looking to turn the page and get on to your next fight camp?
I train like I'm in camp all the time. The only thing that changes is the way I eat. You know what I mean? So as soon as I get back to Augusta, me and my coach is going to sit back down. We're going to work out my schedule, look at what sessions make sense, look at what skills we want to develop in what way, and I'm going to be ready for a phone call. So as soon as the right fight makes sense and my phone rings, the answer will be yes.
You said you weren't supposed to be here, but what got you to this point, Malcolm Wellmaker?
Hard work and keeping the right people around me. I've been saying that since day one, and I'm going to stand by that.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Malcolm.
Support a hustler.
Up front, brother. You talked about the Walkout song earlier, and people were making guesses during the week, right? Because the first fight of the night, somebody walked out to Crime Mob. The crowd had a big pop, right? What did that list look like? Was there like a list of like 4 or 5 that you had to narrow it down to?
It's crazy because literally up until last week, I had it narrowed down to 2 songs, and those 2 songs didn't even make it here tonight. And I just so happened to, I was putting together an Atlanta playlist for me to like warm up to, get my mind right, and that's when I came across Oh Let's Do It. And I was like, how did I not think about that? That is like absolute anthem. So that brought back so many memories of back when I was being ratchet, you know, and I just had to bring it back for the Atlanta crowd, bro.
You talked to me last time, you kind of gave me a promise. You said, I promise to walk into my job on Monday and, hand in the tools if I get the bonus. Is there like another job that you're going to walk into on Monday and quit? Or like, what is this Monday going to look like for you?
This one, I don't really necessarily have an immediate, tangible step I'm taking. But with me doing what I just did, I've wanted to make a real impact in my community. So the next step for me is to figuring out how I can physically get involved in doing something in Augusta, Georgia.
And then you talked about, hey, man, I kind of want to meet some of these fighters as well. You don't hear that too often from guys on the roster. They're focused on the fight itself. But, like, who are some of the fighters that you look up to? And, like, when you meet them one day face-to-face, like, you're kind of going to be starstruck. Who are those guys on the roster?
So, to be honest, the first person I ran up on and was like, oh, man, can I get a picture? And, like, was trying to tell him, like, why he inspired me so much was Cody Garbrandt. I saw him at the ceremonial weigh-ins. He sat right behind me. I saw his son Kai next to him. I called him by name because I've been a fan of Cody for so long. And, man, Cody showed me so much love. I mean, we had like a 15, 20-minute conversation. And even somebody like Dustin Poirier, if I could meet somebody like that, or Islam, all the Dagestanis, I got absolute love and respect for people like those. And meeting people like that still would have me feeling like a kid looking up at the clouds.
Have you ever thought about that fight? Because realistically, like, if Cody goes out there and wins tonight, like, I feel like that's a fight that a lot of fans would jump at.
Yeah, there's a couple names that get tossed around as potential matchups for me, and Cody Garbrandt is one of them that comes up a lot. And I do think it would be a fun fight. He is a former world champion, somebody I have absolute respect for. But I'd be torn in my heart, to have to fight him. So hopefully, that don't have to happen. But again, what makes sense for me.
Malcolm, you said there were 2 songs that didn't make it. What were they?
It's a song by Future with Rock on it called Chosen One. And then there's another song called 730 by Young Thug.
Would have been.
So add them to your playlist.
You getting ratchet tonight, or what's the plan?
I might. After the fight night wraps up, I'm gonna link up with the bros, and the bros that live in Atlanta are the guys that I've been friends with since I've been ratchet. But I'm gonna keep my cornermen with me. They gonna keep me out of trouble. But yes, we getting ratchet tonight. Thank y'all, man.